TV presents.
Welcome to Wines du Jour. We're here on the Las Vegas Strip where all the action is going. We're at one of my favorite places if you like real Mexican food, El Segundo Sol. And tonight we're going to feature 3 wines from Mexico, actually from the Guadalupe Valley area. Santos Tomas. We have a Grenache, we have a Cabernet Sauvignon, and we have a Barbera. Very good stuff. Chef Terry here at the restaurant does wonderful food, so you're going to find out shortly exactly how good that's going to be. We're located straight across from the Wynn Resort, right here at the fashion show. El Segundo Sol is the name of it. So when you come to town, check it out. I want you to meet my guest, Enrique Ramos. Follow me. Welcome back. I promised you I was going to introduce you to my guest this evening. This is a longtime friend. It's originally from Mexico, but now he lives in Arizona. Everybody else calls it Arizona. He lives in Phoenix area, but he does some beautiful business with tequila in particular. His family has been making tequila for over 100 years, and of course that's all in Mexico. Now he's gotten into not just the Mexican tequila wines, but he's also got into Mexican wines. You know, you've heard here on Wines du Jour before many times about Valley Guadalupe, which is just east of Ensenada in Baja California, about 35 miles roughly. And when we first started going down there a few years ago, there were 57 wineries. We just came back from there doing a wine show in Rosarita Beach, and there are now 82 wineries in Guadalupe Valley. Well, you have to know and assume that out of that 82, they're not all outstanding wines, but there are some very, very good ones. One of those very, very good ones is Santos Tomas. Santos Tomas is a medium to large size winery, and Enrique is the guy that has brought that wine into the United States. So first of all, I want Enrique to tell us a little bit about his company called Creo Spirits. Tell us a little bit about that, Enrique. And first of all, thank you very much for sharing your wines with us this evening and spending some time with us here on Wines du Jour.
Oh, thank you for having me, Les. I'm excited to be here. This is a great opportunity for our company, and we're grateful to you. So,
yeah, definitely. Tell us a little bit about your company. What are you doing?
Well, you know, we started. A lot of my family was involved in the tequila business, and it kept pressuring me to kind of open up a distribution company to bring some of these products in, and eventually it actually started to work. We had to go through a long process of licensing and permits and so on.
People don't realize you can make it in Mexico, and 5 miles from where you are is the border. You take it 6 miles, you've got to go through all kinds of paperwork to be able to take it that last mile. Huh?
Huge amounts of paperwork.
Yeah.
And then once you get it here, you have billion-dollar corporations to compete against. So right. We've had to do a lot of work, make a lot of friends, build a lot of loyal relationships with different customers to be able to start selling some of this stuff. So it started off slow, but luckily we've been blessed.
Well, you've been doing it for what, 3 or 4 years now?
We're about 5 years into it.
5 years.
Yeah.
Because I know a couple years ago, Enrique was here, actually at this very same restaurant. We're at, so that I could remind you, we're at El Segundo Sol, which is probably one of the original actual Mexican tasting foods in the Las Vegas restaurant area. He's right on the strip, straight across from the Wynn Casino, and this El Segundo Sol is killer. Chef Terry does such a beautiful job, and tonight he's got a demonstration he's doing somewhere else, so he's not going to be able to be with us. But it's okay. Chef Terry Lynch is the guy you want to check out when you come here. They have breakfast, they have lunch, they have dinner. They even have a separate business, literally, right outside the door here that does strip burgers. So if you like burgers instead of tacos, that's where you want to go. But if you want original, good-tasting tacos that is authentic, this is where you want to come. And we'll talk a little bit later about what is an authentic taco. It's not the one with the ding-dong. It's some real stuff, and there's a reason for the difference, and I'll tell you what that is a little bit later. Enrique's with us. We're going to go to our first wine, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after these messages.
Switch to DirecTV and find out how to say goodbye to messy cable wires and boxes. America's #1 satellite television provider is the undisputed leader in sports with the most full-time HD channels anywhere. Get DirecTV today and receive a free Genie upgrade. One HD DVR powers your whole home. There's no equipment to buy and no startup costs. Package offers start at just $24.99. There's never been a better time to upgrade your television experience. Call your authorized DirecTV dealer today.
Welcome back. We're doing our first wine here this evening. Remember, they're from Santos Tomas Winery in the Guadalupe Valley. That's in Baja, California, a place I suggest you go visit. It's safe, it's fun, it's reasonably priced, and it's some of the most beautiful places in the whole world is Baja, California. Well, Santos Tomas has brought up one of their wines now that I like. You can see it's a little rosé color. That's because it's from the Grenache grape. And it literally is rosé. And the chef, Chef Terry, has put together some things that are pretty neat. He's got some ahi tuna. This is fresh ahi grade A tuna, along with a little ceviche, and he made it into a ceviche. And that's with lime juice and garlic and onions and parsley, and let it marinate for maybe 6 or 8 hours or so. And that's what we're going to pair with this Grenache. Can you tell us a little bit about the Grenache and how it tastes, Enrique?
Yeah, you know, it has some great hints of strawberry, a little bit of pomegranate in there, very aromatic. It's a great summer wine to kind of cool you down, you know, and it goes great with any type of seafood, citrus, you know, perfect. That ahi tuna is going to work out exactly what it needs.
That'll work very good. You know, a lot of people aren't aware that when it gets warm out, I'm talking about summertime, and God knows in Las Vegas it always gets pretty warm. It's not uncommon to be 108, 110, 112 in the heat of the summer. But rather than having a Coke or a Pepsi or something like that to quench your thirst, you're actually better off if you have a nice rosé wine. Now, rosé to some people is not real wine. You know, it's not red wine, it's not white wine, it's just halfway in between. And they keep thinking of things like white Zinfandel. Well, white Zinfandel is a blush wine, and it's really good in the summertime. If you like white Zin, there's nothing wrong with it. Chill it. Same thing with this red, chill it. Now, what do we mean by chill? Well, if you put this in your refrigerator for about 2 hours, you might not know this, but your refrigerator is probably around 39 degrees in temperature. And this would be perfect if you take it out of the refrigerator, assuming now it's 39 degrees. By the time you remove the foil and remove the cork and pour it into your glass, it's going to be about 43, 45 degrees in temperature, which is cool and perfect for hot weather, huh? You agree with that?
Exactly.
It's really nice. This is very, very, very good. And of course, you know, Chef Terry, I wish he was here, doggone it, but he made this ceviche with the ahi tuna, and I have to tell you, it's absolutely delicious. We've got to go to a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about wine number 2, which is the world famous, most popular red wine to be consumed all over the world, Cabernet Sauvignon. And Santos Tomas has done some beautiful work with their Cabernet Sauvignon in the Guadalupe Valley. Enrique Ramos, I'm your host, Les Kincaid. We'll be back right after these messages.
Thank you.
Like fighting each other, and like one was like shooting the hole, and one goes running.
Switch to DirecTV and find out how to say goodbye to messy cable wires and boxes. America's #1 satellite television provider is the undisputed leader in sports with the most full-time HD channels anywhere. Get DirecTV today and receive a free Genie upgrade. One HD DVR powers your whole home. There's no equipment to buy and no startup costs. Package offers start at just $24.99. There's never been a better time to upgrade your television experience. Call your authorized DirecTV dealer today.
Welcome back. We're with Enrique Ramos, and we're talking about wine number 2 from Santos Tomas in the Guadalupe Valley in Baja California. This is Cabernet Sauvignon, and I mentioned before we went to the break that Cabernet Sauvignon is the most popular red wine consumed all over the world. In South America, in Australia, all over Europe, all over America, Canada, and so on, it's the most popular red wine. Now, and the white wine, just so that you know, is Chardonnay, the most popular wine consumed all around the world. That doesn't make it the best, but it's certainly the most popular. One thing about this Cabernet Sauvignon, you know, typically coming from France or coming from Napa, Sonoma, even up in Washington State, you're going to find that Cabernet Sauvignon is around 14.5, 15% alcohol percentage. And if you've been watching Wines du Jour over the years, you know that I'm a real opponent of low alcohol as opposed to high alcohol in wines. So there's a reason that the alcohol has gotten bigger over the last few years, which we've talked about in the past. But here, Santos Tomas, they have it at 13%. So you can drink this wine and pair it with food. That's the problem. The higher the wine percentage of alcohol, the tougher it is to pair with food. So Chef Terry has put together some grilled steak tacos. Now, you know, most people, when they think of the little ding-dong that you go to get a taco, it's always ground beef, right? Hamburger, if you will. We're talking about steak. And we're not talking about just any old steak. We're talking about grilling it and then putting some things with it. Now, here at El Segundo Sol, they've made a salsa that is killer. And I say killer, and that's a good thing, not a bad thing. It's made with chipotle peppers. Now, you may or may not know, chipotle pepper is without a doubt the toughest and hottest pepper in the world. And so you have to be careful. A little bit goes a very long way. But the beautiful part about chipotle is it has great flavor. So even though it has heat, you want that flavor. So use some of it. You don't have to, you know, use 100% or a whole one in a little salsa for a couple of people. But here he's taken it with a little bit of cilantro, which is typical instead of parsley, if you will. Cilantro is more of a Mexican accoutrement. And with the two of those together, a little bit of onion, a little bit of garlic, and made this taco for us. Now I'm going to pour a little bit of this wine. Can we taste that?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about how the taste is, Enrique.
It's very unique. You know, people are used to a certain type of flavors in the U.S. This is very aromatic. A lot of hints of different fruits, berries, and something special that you're not going to find in the Valle de Guadalupe. There's a breeze, an ocean breeze that comes in the mornings, kind of like a fog, and it leaves little hints of sea salt that you eventually taste a little bit, and you can kind of gently taste that a little bit there.
You know,
so it's
this
kind of fun.
has like a little bit of strawberry in this.
A little bit of strawberry.
A little bit of tobacco, a little bit of vanilla, Now, the vanilla, we know from watching the show in the past, only comes from one thing. Vanilla does not come from grapes. Vanilla comes from oak barrels. So when the wine has been aged in an oak barrel, it will automatically give you a little bit of vanilla. The newer the barrel, the more vanilla. So what the winemakers typically do, if they like that vanilla flavor with the particular varietal that they're going to age, they'll put it in a newer barrel. Or they may put it in a new barrel for a short time and then put it in a barrel that they've used 2 or 3 times before, so there's not so much of that vanilla flavor come in. So the tobacco, what we call a horse sweat, or saddle sweat, if you will. That's aromas that you could smell. If you've been around horses, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, don't worry about it. It's something that you acquire over a period of time. But the fact that most people know about tobacco, I'm not suggesting that you smoke it, but you know the scent of that tobacco. That's good. This has the strawberries. It also has some currant, which I happen to like very much with Cabernet Sauvignon. So tastes pretty good. What kind of a retail price here in the United States would we pay for this?
This is a bottle that's going to retail somewhere around the 17 to maybe 19.95 type price range.
That's really not very expensive for a good Cabernet.
Not for a good Cabernet.
And I just want to reiterate a little bit because I think it's very important for people to understand. The higher the alcohol content in a bottle of wine, no matter what the variety is tougher to pair with food. So if you're going to have a steak, and you want, let's say, a Syrah, find a Syrah that doesn't have 15% alcohol. Find one, if you can, that has 13.5 or so, and your retail store will help you find that if you go there to buy your wine. So that's a very good thing. The tacos that Chef Terry has put together, I know are great. I want to mention one more thing before we go to a break. You see this taco, you see how the tortilla is flexible? Well, if you go to that Ding Dong place and order a taco, it's going to come to you crisp, unless you order it Mexican style. In Mexico, they make tacos down there like they're going out of style out of probably 200 different kinds of tacos. They're beautiful, including, of course, you probably heard about the fish taco as an example. But the point I'm getting at is the tortilla is not fried crisp. It is still pliable, if you will. That's an original tasting taco, and believe me, they do taste different. Plus, if you buy a crisp one, half of it falls on your shirt while you're trying to eat it. So you don't have to worry about that if you're doing the Mexican style. So now you know the difference. Cabernet Sauvignon, beautiful steak tacos, and we'll be back right after these messages.
Switch to DirecTV and find out how to say goodbye to messy cable wires and boxes. America's #1 satellite television provider is the undisputed leader in sports with the most full-time HD channels anywhere. Get DirecTV today and receive a free Genie upgrade. One HD DVR powers your whole home. There's no equipment to buy and no startup costs. Package offers start at just $24.99. There's never been a better time to upgrade your television experience. Call your authorized DirecTV dealer today.
Welcome back. Enrique Ramos is my guest tonight from Phoenix, Arizona, where he has a distributing business where he brings in his family's tequila and they happen to be really good quality tequila. You know, there's all kinds of tequila in this world, and I have to say, even though it all comes from Mexico, it's not all equal, if you know what I mean. There's a lot of differences in tequila, and it's not just distillation. Let's talk a little bit real quick about tequila before we get into our wine.
Well, there's a lot of different grades. There's a lot of ways to get people drunk. You know, it's just how you want to get there. So depending on how much the quality of the agave plant, the yeast is very important, just like yeast in wines.
And they add the yeast?
They add the yeast
Okay.
once they fermented it. Some of the higher end tequilas now have discovered to use French yeast. French yeast, it tends to give richer aromas and then a higher level of alcohol from the first fermentation. So those are just little tricks, little things you could do. But little things like elevation, little things like water quality, the sugar content of the agave plant, the maturity of the agave plant. You know, people that don't want to spend a lot of money on tequila, just want to sell it to you really quickly, they may use a plant that's only 3 or 4 years old.
Right,
But
which is about half or less of what it should
Yeah,
be
once
to get quality.
7, 8, sometimes 10, 11 years, there's a mature plant that the flavors, the aromas, the sugar content is extremely a lot higher. That makes a huge difference in tequila.
What about distillation?
Distillation, there's a lot of different ways, you know, from using copper type pots, from using stainless steel, from using different things. There's a new experimental one that we've been working with that actually distills at about 3 different temperatures at the same time.
Really? How
Yes,
neat.
it's a German still, and what that does, it eliminates certain methanols and ethanols that you don't want. At the same
Negative
time,
tasting stuff.
negative tasting things that affect your head, things that don't make you feel good the next
Right.
day. So those are little tricks that you can get into. You know, tequila is a science. It's an
Tell
art.
us a couple brands that you have on the market, your family brand.
Well, one of the brands that we've been working with quite a bit is Tequila Desire. It's a heart-shaped bottle, and that uses about 11-year-old aged agave plants in one of the highest peaks of Los Altos, Jalisco. And what it does is it comes out in an incredibly rich tequila that then they age from anywhere from 4 to 5 years in brand new French oak barrels. So, I mean, they've done everything that they can do. You know, we have a few other ones I could mention. The Don Pilar tequila.
Don Pilar, okay.
That's won every award you could imagine of best of the best. You know, these are smaller brands that concentrate on quality.
So let me just ask you an off-the-cuff question here.
Yeah.
If you're in a bar and the trend seems to be everybody has shots, you know, I'm not big on that at all, but that's the trend. So they have shots. Do you call out what kind of tequila that should be in that glass for a shot, or do you take the house tequila and you have the headache tomorrow?
Yeah, if I was personally walking into a bar, if they didn't carry anything I had, I try to order the small brands, because those are the ones that are working harder to produce that higher quality product. The ones with the poster outside the door, I don't order those at all.
Right, yeah, the magazine, the full
mag-
page ad, yeah.
That's just a bunch of alcohol to me,
Right.
with coloring.
Okay, let's get back to what we're doing here tonight. Now we're talking about wine number 3, which is a varietal that you may have had before, maybe not, but you should search it out at your retail store. It's called Barbera. Barbera is a beautiful red grape with full body and good taste to it. In fact, let's pour some and taste it instead of talking about it. See that beautiful rich color that's on it? This is actually now about 14% alcohol. So it's climbed up the ladder a slight bit compared to the Cabernet with 13, but it's a far cry from what I've been complaining about a little earlier, about 14.5%, 15%. There's a major difference between 14 and 14.5. Believe me, it's not just a 0.5%. There's a lot of difference in taste and the possibility of pairing. Now, Chef Terry has gone to something that I think is outstanding, and maybe you've had it, maybe you haven't, but it's simply made out of pork belly. Now, pork belly is a hot item across the country in restaurants, all kinds of pork belly recipes and so on and so forth. So he's taken pork belly and roasted it and then made a taco out of it, along with a little bit of, how do you pronounce that, pequeno?
Pequeño.
Pequeño. Pequeño means small peppers. So what he's done is made a salsa with some small peppers to go along with this steak. So You know, it's not the habanero that we had before. It's a whole different salsa. And boy, I have to tell you. In fact, let's try it. Can we do that?
We sure
Take
can.
a little taste. I've got you a fork there.
With a fork.
This pork, there's one for you right there. There's one for me.
Perfect.
Pork belly. You know, I know it sounds horrible, pork belly and pork cheeks, but let me tell you, they're really good tasting. So if you have an opportunity to get a little pork belly taco, definitely do it. Or if you go to a restaurant and have tacos, ask them if they can make you some. And maybe it may take a little time to get some pork belly in the restaurant, but they'll be happy to fix it for you, and it'll be worth all the trouble. So now, along with that, Barbera. Tell us a little bit about the taste of this Barbera, if you would, Enrique.
This is a wine I truly enjoy. Les, it goes great with the type of food we just served. But here's what it does. It has a hint. It starts out kind of spicy. You open up these aromas. I love to smell it first. You know, before I take a sip.
It's smoky, isn't it?
It's smoky.
Very good.
Been aged 12 months in new French oak barrels, and has a real nice finish right towards the end.
Very nice, very smooth finish. You know, a lot of big wines, that's what I'm calling this, because it's full body like Cabernet Sauvignon, is that the finish kind of heats up your throat. That's not necessarily what you want. So typically with Cabernet Sauvignon, as an example, in France, they started adding a little Merlot juice to the Cabernet Sauvignon, and that does what we call round off the taste. But the Barbera, this is really a very, very nice Barbera, and it's just so smooth going down. So from the time it enters your mouth until you actually swallow it, it's big, it's smooth, and it's food friendly. And that is, of course, the most important thing. I don't know what else we can say. Remember we talked about the loose tortillas? Yeah? This is the original. Come here to El Segundo Sol and have some good Mexican cuisine. We've got to go. I want to thank you very much for watching, and Enrique,
Salud.
thank you very much. Salud.
Thank you.
My favorite food pairing was this beautiful wine with the grilled steak tacos.
Switch to DirecTV and find out how to say goodbye to messy cable wires and boxes. America's #1 satellite television provider is the undisputed leader in sports with the most full-time HD channels anywhere. Get DirecTV today and receive a free Genie upgrade. One HD DVR powers your whole home. There's no equipment to buy and no startup costs. Package offers start at just $24.99. There's never been a better time to upgrade your television experience. Call your authorized DirecTV dealer today.
This has been a presentation of VATV.